lacrosse fans, to the Utah Lax Report. I'm Tim Haslam. My interview today is with UVU head coach Brian Barnhill. We talk a lot about the UVU program, what they've been up to, sort of what their culture has been like, and ultimately Coach Barnhill's transition from never having played lacrosse, never seen lacrosse, to becoming a head coach at a local college, and sort of what he thinks the future of UVU lacrosse might look like. In the newsletter also, we talked about the Wasatch Invitational, the Aloha tournaments, and a couple other news and notes that you should definitely check out at utah.laxreport.substack.com. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, and also leave us a review if you feel so inclined. Here's the interview with Coach Barnhill. Coach, welcome to the show. How are you?
Great, Tim. Good to be with you.
You too. Thanks. I was thinking about this before we recorded. I think I've known you for probably, pushing 8 or 9 years, and always fun to talk to you. Always good catching up. You've always been one of, a supporter of me, and I appreciate that. So I just wanted to say thanks, and happy to talk to you.
Well, Sam, feelings mutual. I've always appreciated your support for not only me, but for our family as well.
Yeah, so for those out there, Coach Barnhill's son, Mason, was a star at Alta. Did he go to Corner Canyon? I can't remember.
He was the first year. Yeah, first year at Corner Canyon.
That's right. And so definitely one of the early Chargers to lead the team. Can you believe their success that they're having?
Sort
of, right?
Sort of, yeah. We could see there's a lot of talent in that area, and we knew there was a good opportunity. And I'll tell you, Coach Eek has really kind of run with it. Give credit to Mark Davis for laying a strong foundation, and Coach Eek has really run with it. And he's got some talented players. It's really fun to see.
So for those out there listening, how did you get into lacrosse?
Well, it started really when my son got bored with baseball, and it's not a knock on baseball. It was just his attention span didn't lend itself to Little League baseball, and we were in Deer Valley, saw some people throwing lacrosse balls around, and we thought that looked pretty cool. Tracked it down, went into Tribal West, got some sticks, and then we learned of the spring lacrosse. And when I showed up the first day, I was curious to see how the sport was played. And the coach at the time had said, "Look, I need assistant coaches." And I'd coached football and baseball and basketball, and I knew coaching, but I didn't know the sport. And he said, "Look, just help me run the practices, be with the kids, just coach in general, and I'll teach you the rules." That's where it started. And then I just fell in love with it. And I love the pace. I love the spacing. I love the physicality of it, the finesse of it. And so it's just one of those things. I just naturally, it just drew me in over the course of time. So I kind of followed Mason as he grew. I tried not to coach him specifically because I wanted him to get other voices other than myself. But as he went up through the youth lacrosse and into high school, I kind of followed. So when he went to Alta, I coached JV rather than the varsity where he was playing varsity. Just to be a part of the program and be with the sport. And then Coach Davis was able to coach him up, and Coach Walton at Alta.
Okay. And so then, Mason graduates. Did you still coach at Alta Corner Canyon, or is that when you made the transition to UVU?
Well, Todd Arbin and I started the program at Corner Canyon with Mark Davis. And so I knew going into it that I was going to be there Mason's first year, but I'd made a commitment that I would stay 1 year beyond when he left, because I wanted to kind of set a tone of, this is more than just being about your own players. Let's build a program, and I kind of wanted to set that tone. So when he graduated, I was the chair or the president the next year, and while I was running that, we hosted the state championship there the year before, and then Gray Burbridge was asked at that time to take over at UVU by Tom James, and so I was just talking to him in passing. I thought, what a great opportunity, Bray. You're going to do a great job. And he said, well, really, I need some help. I need some coaches. Would you be interested? And that's really kind of when I got involved with UVU.
Okay. And so you go down there with Bray and start coaching. He eventually leaves. Did you want to become the head coach? Was that something that you kind of had your eye on, or did it kind of just happen?
It more just happened. It was Bray just saying, look, the second year, when he started the second year, he said, I think this is going to be my last year. I'd like you to, he kind of said, I'd like you to take over if you wouldn't mind at the end of the year. And so we kind of knew that transition was coming. We didn't tell the players or anybody so that they could focus on the season. But Bray had made up his mind. I think, and, he had some younger kids that were in high school, and he wanted to get back with them and be part of their lacrosse experience in high school. So it was one of those things that just fell in my lap. I thought it was a great opportunity, and you know, if you'd asked me 10 years ago if I thought I'd be coaching college lacrosse, the answer would have been no. There's no way. But it's turned out to be a great experience. I'm very happy.
And they just can't kick you off the field, can they?
No, they're gonna have to pull me away from it.
That's right. What do you love most about it?
Well, for me, it's about the relationships. I love the relationships with the players, with the coaches, and I like the aspect of building a culture that's more than just wins and losses, so that the players leave. And this goes back to when we were in high school and youth lacrosse, and carries over into UVU. That when they leave, they feel like they've got some friends or teammates that are there for them for life, and that's what we're trying to build at UVU. One of the challenges at UVU is it's more of a commuter school, and we don't have that campus setting. So we really try to drive home the fact that you guys are each other's best resources in life past college. So if something happens later in life, our hope is that they've got a strong enough relationship that the first people they reach out to are their lacrosse teammates.
And excuse me, I'll edit that out. Where does this come from? What tools have you used? What resources have you used to sort of ingrain this culture or build this culture with the team?
Well, the source of it, again, goes back really more in the high school part, where we really kind of focused on brotherhood and teamwork. And it was something that we developed as part of a program at both Alta and Corner Canyon. And then when Bray and I were coaching at UVU, we wanted to bring that same sense, because again, we were trying to make a transition from when we first showed up to being just a lacrosse club where it was really relaxed and people were doing what they wanted to do. They had some good coaching and they were doing well, but we knew that their talent pool, there's a great talent pool here in Utah that wasn't being utilized. And I felt like the players didn't see it as a viable alternative to whether it was Westminster or some other NCAA D2 or D3 school that was out there, or even a D1 school. So we wanted to create a viable option for Utah lacrosse players to come and play lacrosse and have a very competitive experience that may not have had the academics to enter BYU, or the finances for Westminster, or maybe they just weren't recruited and they're lost in the shuffle somehow. So we wanted to build that at UVU when Bray and I first started. And then when you're going through the coaching education process, I guess, over the course of years, you learn that one of the foundations to any successful lacrosse program is you have to have an identifiable, strong culture that the players can rely on. They know that's there, and they know there's an expectation, and they've got to meet that expectation coming into the program, and then you can kind of build from that. Without that foundation, there's too much turmoil year to year, and there's too many questions to really maintain any kind of continuity and rosters from year to year.
And so, is that something that you talk to when a kid is looking at UVU? I'm assuming that this is something that you bring up right out of the gate, right?
Yeah.
They may be asking about facilities or something like that, but you're probably talking more along the lines of this is kind of how we do things. These are our expectations.
Yeah, one of the mantras Coach Westcott likes to say is we do more with less. We don't have the facilities of a lot of places. We don't have a campus setting, but we do more with what we have, and we have guys that are committed to that. So that is an initial conversation. Whenever you're talking to someone who's looking at school, I want to be clear. One of our first things is make sure the school is right for you. Don't just come to UVU for lacrosse. Make sure the school is right for what you want to accomplish in life. And if that meets that criteria, Now let's talk about lacrosse and what's involved, what your commitment's going to be, and what you can expect in return for participating or being a member of our lacrosse team. That's how we try to present it. It's I don't, at least my personal opinion is, you can't, you don't want to get into that overpromise situation where you're telling them that they're the greatest thing ever, and you draw them there and they don't have the majors they're interested in, they don't have the type of the classes that they want. It lends itself to a bad experience for everyone involved.
Sure.
So we've tried to avoid that by being very candid with everybody that's coming to UVU.
Let's start talking about the program, and let's talk more about some of the specifics of this past year. So UVU, like everyone else, got their season cut short last year. Walk us through, maybe not necessarily March, April, May, but what are some things that maybe happened this summer, and then what are you guys up to this fall?
Well, let me set the setting then. I think this may be the experience of most college teams this past years. You start to hear the rumblings that things are going to shut down or other schools aren't participating. They have to close down due to COVID. And as a coach and as a team, and you're still active, but others are not, you still have to practice and plan. Like you have a game next day. We had a trip scheduled that week that we ultimately had to cancel last minute. And so the week leading up to our cancellation, we were maintaining our practices. Even the night before our departure date, we were saying, we're still on, plan on it, let's have a good practice, stay focused. And then of course we get word the next day. So that left us there was a sudden break, because you got this anticipation of games, and now those are gone. And for the college athlete, all they want to do is compete. They're training to compete. Their mindset is, I'm a competitor. I've trained. I want to go against somebody else other than my brother across the way here. And to have that cut short, and then we can't even hold meetings. So it's a matter of phone calls, Zoom calls, trying to say, look, this is what's happening. Stay prepared over the course of summer. But then there's all these question marks that are still underlying. What are we going to have a fall season? Are we going to have a spring season? So it's hard to keep, and I'm sure this is the same for all of the programs. It's hard to keep the guys focused on, look, you can't control those circumstances. All you can control right now is your preparation. Control that, and then we'll be better off as a program when the time comes, because it will come, that we will have games. And so our struggle over the course of summer was keeping guys motivated and in that moment of stay prepared, keep in shape, keep your stick sharp, and on top of everything else that's going on, whether it's quarantine or family members that are sick, and all the different discussions that everybody's having.
Sure. So
it's a struggle, and I'm sure we were not alone. I'm sure it was true for everybody.
Yeah. So are you guys are practicing now then?
Yeah, UVU has been very supportive of our program and really the programs in general. We followed the Western Athletic Conference as far as determination for fall sports being pushed to spring. And I think they'll mirror whatever the Western Athletic Conference does for UVU. Right now, we have a green light, everything for spring. I don't have any reason to believe that we won't have a spring season. Mm-hmm. There might be other schools that we have on our schedule that may not be able to participate. But for right now, we're planning on our spring season.
And so to me, that's interesting, because UVU is, when you say Western Athletic Conference, the WAC, it's a WAC school, but you guys, aren't our club in that system. And so it's interesting to me that even though that's the case, that sort of their governing rules are still are basically what you have to abide by, which I think is interesting. Not necessarily bad or good, but
no. And if you think about it, it makes sense, because you don't want to have the NCAA soccer team out practicing until the lacrosse team, or whether it's men's rugby, that they can't practice, but they're seeing the other athletes practice. So sure. I think that keeps some continuity and keeps the athletes, the frame of mind in the best place.
Sure. Talk about your assistant coaches. You mentioned, Coach Westcott, that's Marty Westcott. Who else do you have on staff with you down there?
So I have Coach Westcott. He's the associate head coach and offensive coordinator. He's been coaching longer than I don't even know how long. It's been over 30 years or something. So he is the source of information. He runs a great offense, does a great job, and he loves coaching. And he loves the kids. He loves the process. So it's really fun to have him on staff. Todd Arbin, he's also on the offensive side, and he has a great eye for athleticism and for athletes. So we're again fortunate to have Todd on our staff. The defensive side, we have Coach Carl Cooney. He's been with me for all 6 years that I've been there. He's been there, and so we've been through the trenches together, seen the recruits come and go, and we've got some of our defensive anchors they go back to the start with us. And Kevin Blossel has joined the staff, and he's working on the defensive side with Coach Cooney, and he's a younger guy, and he just has a passion for lacrosse that just is, it's felt by all of the players, and it's just translated in his manner of speaking and his mannerisms. He's just excited to be on the field and be with the guys, and yeah, he's a fun guy to be around. I have Steve Haymond, who's been with us for a couple of years. I think we're going in our third year together. He runs all of our social media as a side note, but on the field, he's a leadership guy. He can coach any side, whether it's offense, defense. I've asked him to focus really on the face-off unit, wings, the face-off X, and really put in some quality time coaching there, and he's done a great job with it. We really saw a vast improvement last year when he transitioned to that position. We really improved at the X. And then Scott Sutherland joined our staff late last year and has continued on this year, and he's just focused on the face-off athletes at this point. We'll probably have him running our box in spring. So that's our coaching staff. The age range is from 24 to probably older than we should really acknowledge. But
I won't ask you your age, Coach.
Thank you.
I want to ask my next question for other coaches out there who may be listening. How much time do you spend as a coaching staff, doing practice plans or meeting or talking about players or this and that?
Okay, so we're a club program, so we all have our jobs outside of lacrosse. But I can tell you, it's more than you would expect. So on a daily basis, I know for myself, I'll spend an hour to 2 hours a day outside of practice, whether it's practice plans or working with the administration or intramurals or other coaches, just kind of coordinating and making sure we've got some place to practice, some place to be, we've got the equipment we need, et cetera, and the budgets, all of those things. As a staff, we'll spend beyond that hour to 2 hours I spend on a daily basis, we'll spend an additional half hour to 45 minutes on a practice day outside of practice, going through our practice plan and making sure we've got the right plan in place and talking about players, concerns of players, injuries, making sure we know who needs what attention. And then we've got our 2 hour practice on top of it. So during the fall, I'll probably, in the course of the day, spend about 4 to 5 hours working on lacrosse, even though it's not my primary job. So don't tell my wife. Because it takes away from the office, but I feel fortunate to be able to put the time into it that's needed, and same with my other coaches. They put in a lot of time into this.
I think anyone listening to the podcast will understand your point of view. So I don't know that any excuses will need to be made.
Okay, good. That's true.
So then with the players, how much time are you spending? You mentioned a 2 hour practice. How much time are you spending outside of practice with them, either, through a Zoom meeting or on the phone or in person, or just working on, them as a person, but also a lacrosse player?
So we try to delegate that because our numbers have grown. When I first started, we probably had 20 to 24 players at any given time. Now we've got 66 to 67 guys that are on our fall roster right now. We'll have to pare that down come spring. So we have to parse that out a little bit. So Coach Heyman, I know, is working with a number of our guys on leadership items, and they'll exchange emails, answering questions, trying to build a leadership program within our team. Coach Westcott talks to a number of different players. It's really, I guess the best way to answer it is we've all taken certain players and divided them up between us, and we try to focus on our communication with those players to make sure we understand whether it's, if they're not showing up, is it because they're sick, or is there something else going on in their life that needs attention? Are their academics where they need to be? And so the only way to manage it really is to divide and conquer.
And that makes sense, and certain players have connect with certain coaches certain ways.
Yes, right.
So that definitely makes sense. What assuming we're gonna be positive and assume that the spring season happens, what are typically some of the goals or objectives that come out of UVU lacrosse for a typical spring?
Well, we start off with a meeting. Really, the players have to determine what their goal is for the year. It can't come top down. It's got to be player driven. If they don't buy in, it all becomes just a verbal exercise rather than translating it into real meaning on the field. So we have a meeting to determine what their goal is for that season. And we've had the discussions early on in the fall to build our fall practices toward that. But we'll really hammer it come first of spring. Okay, if that's your goal, this is what's going to be required of you. And then we try to fashion our practices after that. So right in our early discussions, they all center around conference championship. That's the goal of UVU. UVU has not had a conference championship. We've been in the conference finals, haven't made that happen. So that's the goal. And you cross that, then whatever happens after that, that's what happens. So we try to just focus on the one. So we manage that. And with that understanding, we manage our early games as a ramp up toward our conference play. As much as you want to go undefeated during a season, the early games may be more about building and understanding where your team's at, regardless of a win or a loss. But when it comes to April, we have better learned those lessons in February and March, so we don't make the mistakes from February, March in our April games.
And that makes sense. And for those listening, UVU plays in what's common in the MCLA circle. It's known as one of the tougher conferences. I think the SLC has proven that it's probably the tougher conference. I may face feedback on that, but so to have that right out of the gate as a goal is obviously a challenge, right? It's probably something that, like you mentioned, UVU hasn't done in the MCLA D1 level, and so to have that as a challenge right out of the gate is and probably more than most teams. Most teams aren't competing for that, and so the fact that you did compete for a conference title is impressive. When it comes to captains, some teams will choose, the coaches will choose, or the players will choose, or some sort of mix. How does UVU select captains?
So we have traditionally had, because we were trying to build a culture, we were trying to develop some leadership, so it would continue from year to year. The coaches had selected the captains. This year, we haven't announced it, but I'll announce it now. Our players will pick the captains this year. We want to make that transition now. We feel like there's enough of the enough presence of the culture that the players start to get, okay, this is what we stand for, and these are the kind of guys who will help us lead us in the right direction.
And I think that's an important piece of that is when the players do pick the captains. I think there's a little bit more of a bond there. If I were coaching at that level, I think I'd do the same.
It's an important dynamic. You have to realize, I'm with you, but you also have to realize if you're trying to build something, there's going to be situations, and this may be directed more to the other coaches, where you might have to say, you know what, I need to pick some guys who are going to reflect what we want to stand for. And they may not be the most popular guys on the team, but they do reflect your core value. For example, one of our rules is you have to give 100% effort whenever you step across the line, and it's all practice. We're running from drill to drill, and the best player may not be doing that every time, but you might have a second or third, a second line midi who's doing it, and maybe he serves as a better captain, as a better example of that principle. So I just want to be clear, I'm with you. I think it's great when the players can do it, but early on when you're trying to set that precedent, some coaches, like we chose to do it that way. select the players that reflect the values. So until we get to the point we feel like it's instilled and it's a strong enough principle that the players have bought into it.
I like that, and I think it makes perfect sense. Right. Talk about just kind of the team as a whole. I don't know that we need to talk about players, but a fan comes out to watch a UVU game. What are they gonna leave the game with? What'll be their takeaway?
So what we hope that you'll see is some quality lacrosse. We have some very strong lacrosse IQ players on our team. This comes from, and they've been playing for years and years. And they've gotten some great coaching through Coach Westcott. So offensively, I think you'll see an efficient, very fast offense. But when I say very fast, it does not mean chaotic. There's a fast and there's chaos. This is a fast with purpose. On the defensive side, you're going to see disciplined defense. You're going to see strong communication from our defense. And that's, from a young player's perspective, if a young player comes out to whether it's our practices or our games, they should be able to sit on the sidelines and hear exactly what's being said on the defensive side of the ball. And that helps create a stronger defensive unit. So I think what they're going to see is some good quality across on both sides of the ball, and then players are going to make mistakes, and I think they'll also see that these players are good at putting those mistakes behind them and moving on to the next play.
Last question here, Coach, before we wrap up. What's been your favorite lacrosse memory?
Well, there's been a lot, but I'll say that when I first started, my first college game was an away game at Grand Canyon University, and Bray Burbage could not make that game, so I was the head coach for the very first game, and I had no idea what to expect. And it was not at Grand Canyon's home field. It was a neutral site game, and what are my responsibilities? What are his responsibilities? I had no idea. And we ended up winning that game in overtime, and it was just one of those experiences that you're like, okay, this is fun. I want to stick around for this. I don't want to miss another one of these. And then if you've ever listened, I'm sure it's archived somewhere on YouTube, TJ gave the call for that game. He was doing the online streaming, and at the end of the game, he let out this loud yeehaw at the end of the game. I thought it was so fitting. This little team from UVU, which really I think Coach Rapkin was expecting this as a warm-up game, came and surprised him, and it was a good experience. They were ranked number 1 at the time, so it was a big upset.
And let's see, I'm on the MCLA website. Did they win it the year before, or did they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they won the national championship. So they're coming off their national championship, and
Right.
And that's why I think it was a little bit by surprise.
Well, I think it took the whole MCLA community by surprise, Coach. I love it.
Me probably more than anybody else.
That's right. Anything else you want to talk about?
I really want to. I guess the only thing I want to stress is, now that the sport of lacrosse is sanctioned in high schools, it's really going to take a broad community effort to give the support to the newer programs, getting people involved. Don't be afraid to jump in and help out. If you've had any experience coaching at all, most lacrosse coaches will take the time to help educate you. They just need people there to help them. And that's really what got me started, and it's turned into a lifelong passion. And so I'd encourage others, if that opportunity arises, don't hesitate, jump on it. You won't regret it. You'll learn some things. You'll make some friends. You'll impact a boy's life more than you know. So I'd say just, I just want to make sure that people understand that you don't have to have a PhD in lacrosse. You don't have to have played college lacrosse to get into the sport and start coaching.
And I mean, you're the perfect example of that, right?
Yeah.
Never played. Did you play high school sports?
I played football, baseball,
Okay.
and then I got into racquetball, which is completely separate. But at the time in the '80s, it was a big deal.
So hold on, did they have high school racquetball?
No, I played in college. I played for the U, and I actually, so I'll pat myself on the back. I made it to the Olympic. It was going to be a demonstration sport for the Olympics. I made it to the Olympic tryouts, and we lost it was a best of 3. We came 1 game short to make it to the Olympics. My partner, it was a doubles.
And I'm just thinking of did they have racquetball courts in like Hyper? Is that
Yeah?
Okay.
Hyper East. Yep.
Okay.
That was my home for a while.
Wow. Okay. I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And on that note, we'll end the show. Thanks, Coach Barnhill, for coming on. And be sure to follow people on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you do your social media. Good luck to Wolverines this season. Again, don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.